YouTube up. Let me get that pulled up very quickly. There we go. And speaking of YouTube, for those that and I'll put out some video and post tomorrow and Wednesday also reminding everyone. But for those of you that wasn't on here, Friday night, I think we announced it Wednesday night as well. From now on, the Wednesday nights lives. So my normal lives are Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central and Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central. From now on, Wednesday night lives will only be on YouTube. So Mondays and Fridays will still be on all the platforms. Wednesday nights will only be on YouTube. So if you're not subscribing to my YouTube channel, make sure you go and subscribe so you don't miss the Wednesday night lives. And they're going to be a lot more in depth and more open per se. And that's the reason we're doing one live a week like that, to where I don't have to be as careful as the random words I use and things like that, and don't have to worry about getting kicked off. Still have to be careful on there, but it's nothing as crazy as TikTok and Facebook. So I think there will be very, very good discussions on there. But make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and it's Agent D Baker on YouTube, or go to the website, agentdbaker.com, and click on the YouTube link there. Some people in Alabama had some rough weather this evening. It just rained a little bit where I live. And if you have not shared the live, please do that. I'd really appreciate that. And sorry, I've missed some people sending some gifts already, but I really appreciate all of those. And I definitely appreciate Addison. She is awesome. And my favorite audience member of all time. You have a question? Go ahead, James. I'm ready. You know, one thing I want to talk about before I forget. Yeah, politics will bring out the worst in people. We all know that. And when someone is running for an office that I know for sure that is legit a great person and has done amazing things and continues to, especially when it comes to saving children and putting child predators in their place. When it's someone like that and they're getting ran down just because they're running for an office, it really pisses me off. And it's crazy because some of the things that people, I mean, it happens to me too. Like you'll see something somebody said about you, and you're like, where in the world would you have even gotten it? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, people will literally just make up the most random things. If someone is not a post certified, do they have a legal right to arrest and charge someone? Only if they're employed during that probationary period. So in Alabama, I want to say it's 180 days. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to look in just a minute to be sure. But I say it's 180 days from the date of hire so agencies, police departments, and sheriff's offices in Alabama have that 180-day grace period from the date they hire someone to the date they get them to academy. So that way, because there's only so many academies per year, so that way they don't have to hire you and then the very next day you have to go to academy. So they have that grace period. If it is during that time, then that's different. I don't think anyone could really argue that. However, if it's just for instance, the situation that we seen in Walker County, Alabama, with the deputies that were hired, giving credentials to, given the badge and the weapon, when they were specifically told those people were not APO certified and would never be, then I think you would have a really good case as to your civil rights being violated. Now, I am not an attorney, so don't quote me on that. That is just what I would think. But again, I could be wrong. But to me, I would believe that you would have a case to fight that, if that makes sense. Now, let me be clear. I am not saying if you're in the middle of an incident and there is a law enforcement officer that is at work, on duty, and trying to carry out their daily whatever, whether they're on a call and they're making an arrest or whatever, that is not the time to argue about that. So please don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about after, like, say, if they do arrest you and charge you, you got to go through that process. Then after is when you would get an attorney and see what could be done about if they did violate your rights. Not during, I want to be very clear about that. So anyone after 180 days from hire, these people can challenge their charges. I live in Walker County. I mean, again, I don't see why you can't, but you're also talking about Walker County. So, but I would definitely speak with an attorney about that and get an attorney's opinion on that. I'll say this. If it were me, I absolutely would fight it in courts. Absolutely. I mean, if I was arrested in Walker County for anything, I would fight it in court, because the chances are the deputies are not even going to show up to court. I mean, we've seen that tons of times. And if they just refuse to come to court and you're fighting the case, the courts are going to eventually have to drop the case against you. Billy, where did you see that? I'm not saying you're wrong. I would just like to see where you found that. And Tammy said, go outside of Walker County to get an attorney. Let me give my spiel about this. If you're in one of these very small, if you're in Walker County, for instance, a couple others, I would absolutely go way outside and get an attorney 100% of the time. If you're not in one of those places, you're hurting yourself by getting an out of town attorney. The court's relationship and rapport there between the attorneys and the judges and the prosecutors will always work in your favor in most places. I've seen it so many times where someone would hire an out-of-town attorney and they would bring them into a good court system, and that attorney didn't fully, again, understand exactly how they did things in this court. And I don't mean legally. I'm just talking about, again, the way the judge is respected, all that stuff. It all, you have to take it all into account, because at the end of the day, we are all human. But I've rarely seen it work in favor of the defendant if they've gotten an out-of-town attorney in a normal place. It usually does not work. And I've heard that for years, and I've seen it so much where people always say, again, no matter where you are, get an out-of-town attorney. A lot of times that is not what you should do. And any good attorney will tell you the same thing. Not now, if it's an out-of-town attorney and they're trying to get your business, they're not going to tell you that. But if you just know a random attorney, ask them, and they'll tell you the same thing. Yeah, Billy, I'm not saying you're wrong. I would just like to see it myself as well. I will, Steve. James, if you're talking about in Walker County, there's tons of people who's been taken advantage of. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They literally operate on their own laws and rules all the way around. I would almost bet everything there's not one attorney, judge, prosecutor, anything, police officer in Walker County that truly knows how things are really supposed to be done. If that's the only place they've operated out of, they don't have a clue how things are really supposed to be done. I mean, they legit have their own rules and laws. They might as well be their own little country. And they have gotten away with it for decades. I mean, I don't mean, Tammy said the lawyers, judges, and law enforcement are all in it together. No, I mean, a defense attorney is going to be on their client's side, and they're going to do, a good one is going to do every single thing they can for the good of their client, hands down. Where that relationship comes into account is when I was working cases, there were certain attorneys in town that I got along with, that we just I don't know that I would call us friends because it's not like we hung out, but we were always cool with each other. We liked each other, and we'd have conversations. And like if I had a question about something, like I'd call him and I'd be like, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this or whatever?" And vice versa. So we had a good working relationship. Anytime he had a client that I arrested, that it was my case, there was a mutual respect there. So if it was someone that we're talking about something minor, whatever it may be, and he may call me and say, "Look, this person's got this going on in their life. They got this. They know they screwed up. But what do you feel about us if we work this deal out?" And it would be a very good deal for the defendant, but also not letting them completely off. Most of the time, if it was a couple of specific attorneys, I wouldn't even question it. I'd be like, "That's fine. Cool with me. No problem." Because those same attorneys would never call me and ask me for something that was just crazy. Again, there was a mutual respect there. So that's a relationship that I've had out-of-town attorneys come meet with me and call me, and we did not get off on the right foot. And so I was not going to agree to anything with them. No matter what they ask, I'd be like, "No, you can go screw yourself. We'll go to court." Makes a big difference. Now, it's not ultimately up to the officer. It's ultimately up to the prosecution. But in most places, again, if it's a investigator that knows what they're doing and the prosecutors, the DA's office respects them, then they'll take their opinion almost every time. Sometimes they would go against it. I've had them go against mine before. I've agreed to things, and then the DA's office said no. And that's the way it is sometimes. Because again, ultimately that's their decision. But the investigator's opinion comes into account a lot. What's up, Tracy? Codified in Rule 650 X201 Administrative Code. Okay, thank you, Billy. Yeah, I'll look that up, and I'll have that where I can show it Wednesday night. But I've also had some attorneys that, specifically some of those attorneys that I got along real well with, that got me on stand and ate me up. Just ate me up because, again, they're going to do what's best for their client. And there's mutual respect there. And they tore me up on stand. And like literally one time it happened so bad that they called me that evening after court, and I went down to a local place of business and they purchased me a drink because number one, I needed it. But they ate me up good. But again, it's a respect thing there. I'm not going to get mad at them for them trying to do what's best for their client, and vice versa. Did I miss your update on Karen Wheaton case? No, I briefly spoke about it in the very beginning, but we'll talk more about it in a minute. So let me get back to what I was talking about with the politics. And this has to do with Jared Hudson, who is running for U.S. Senate out of the state of Alabama. And if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me speak up about him numerous times. And I, he is legit who he says he is. This is no backdoor thing. I've seen so much BS of people making up about him just because it's politics. He is exactly who he says he is. As you've heard me say, I would put my own reputation at stake for him. Absolutely. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. He is legit. He's not wearing some mask. But this blew me away the other day when a prosecutor from Blount County made a post. And let me find that post. I've got the second part of it here. Let me find the original post real quick. Let me do this. Here we go. So this post was made a few days ago, and by Scott Gilliland. First, I thought it was Gilland, but it's actually Gilliland. I don't know. It says, "Who is Jared Hudson? I've practiced law in Blount County courts for 25 years. I have spent the last 15 years working as a prosecutor. In the last 10 years, I've worked closely with Ed Hull. Ed Hull is the child exploitation investigator for Blount County. Jared Hudson is not. In fact, I'm not aware of Jared Hudson obtaining a single warrant or making a single arrest or even serving as a witness in a single child exploitation case or any other case for that matter. I met Jared Hudson for the first time at a political rally in Shelby County on May the 26th, 2026. He had no idea who I was. He certainly did not know I prosecute child exploitation cases in Blount County. So I saw this, and I don't even know what word to use, because I know for a fact Jared Hudson was a deputy for Blount County Sheriff's Office and on the federal task force there. Like, I know that. So it's like, who is this guy that's a prosecutor there acting like he doesn't even know who he is? Like, this is weird. And again, I knew, I was like, this is some of Barry Moore's BS, because Barry Moore is who is running against Jared Hudson in the runoff later this month. And actually, let's get past this first part, and then we'll go to some of these comments on this. So I saw that, and I just didn't understand it whatsoever. It didn't make any sense to me because, again, this guy's acting like Jared Hudson just completely lied about that stuff. And I know for a fact he didn't. And that brings us to this post. Here. Hold on 1 second. Let me get some. So then Blount County Sheriff makes this post either yesterday or today. Well, this is quoting his post. I've seen the actual post, but we'll go off this. Sheriff Moon defends Jared Hudson as debate emerges over law enforcement record. A public exchange between Blount County Sheriff Mark Moon and Chief Assistant District Attorney Scott Gilliland has brought renewed attention to a congressional candidate, Jared Hudson's law enforcement experience, with supporters arguing that Hudson's contributions to public safety extend far beyond arrest and courtroom appearances. The discussion began after questions was raised regarding Hudson's role in child exploitation investigations and his work with the Blount County Sheriff's Office. In a public statement, Sheriff Moon offered a detailed defense of Hudson, describing the congressional candidate as a valuable part-time deputy who has contributed to multiple areas of the sheriff's office while earning minimum wage. A question was asked recently from someone I do respect. Who is Jared Hudson? Moon wrote. There were some other comments made, but I want to address who Jared Hudson is and what he's done for us specifically in Blount County. According to Moon, Hudson has played an important role in helping train deputies involved in child exploitation investigations. The sheriff said Hudson has provided guidance on investigative techniques, including what deputies can and cannot say during undercover operations in order to avoid entrapment issues and build strong prosecutable cases. Moon emphasized that full-time investigators remain responsible for securing warrants, conducting interviews, and managing cases through the court process. However, he credited Hudson with helping ensure those investigations are conducted effectively within legal boundaries. The sheriff also highlighted just Hudson's extensive work with the department's Special Response Team, SRT, commonly known as SWAT. Jared has spent an innumerable amount of hours training our SRT team with proven tactics and skills that most small departments never get, Moon said. In addition, Moon said Hudson has assisted deputies by reviewing failure to appear warrant list and helping develop packets designed to locate wanted individuals who no longer reside in Blount County. Moon noted that Hudson performs this work as a part-time deputy, helping save department resources for full-time personnel. Gilliland raises questions. Moon's comments came after a Facebook post by Chief Assistant District Attorney Scott Gilliland, a longtime prosecutor who previously ran as the Democratic nominee for Alabama Secretary of State in 2010. Okay, that makes a little sense now. Okay, so here's what pisses me off about this Scott Gilliland. He knows what Jared Hudson has done for Blount County. He knows how important the work he has done there is. He knows how Jared Hudson has done it practically for free. And it pissed me off to see that he would publicly make a post like he did, acting as if he doesn't even know who Jared Hudson is. Straight political nonsense. And I bet if we dig hard enough into this ignorant Gilliland's past and life, we'll probably dig up some stuff. And that's what we're going to do. Because if he would make a false post like this, then there's no telling what all he's done. And I guarantee you, he did it under the direction of someone with Barry Moore's team. It pisses me off knowing what all Jared Hudson has done, that he has literally dedicated his life to taking down child predators, and that all the work he does for law enforcement in Alabama is, again, pretty much for free. I have a good friend that works. Yeah, it won't matter. I have a good friend that works for the Limestone County Sheriff's Office in North Alabama. And Jared Hudson has done a lot of the same stuff for them. And they are very appreciative of it. I mean, overly appreciative. And for this ignorant guy to act like Jared Hudson's just lying about this stuff, oh, it pisses me off. But it shows you what kind of guy he is, this Gilliland guy, and what kind of team Barry Moore has. That they will stoop to these kind of lows to try to discredit these amazing things that Jared Hudson has done. Because let me tell you something about this. What's his first name? I don't even want to remember. It's probably why I can't. I don't know. We'll stay with Gilliland. You don't even deserve to have a first name. I guarantee you one thing he's never done. He's never actively investigated a child predator. He's never kicked the door in on a house and went in and grabbed a child predator up and put him in handcuffs. I guarantee you he's never done those things. Because no coward like that would ever do that. But he wants to sit back and make this false post about a man that has numerous times. And has not only done that, but fought for our country in numerous operations overseas, high stakes operations. The amount of time that this man has put his life in, literally in jeopardy for the citizens of this country and for the citizens of this state. And then you have this ignorant coward trying to say that he's lying about this stuff. That's a coward. Sitting behind a desk, behind a computer screen, and typing out that cowardly post. Jared Hudson has experiences that probably no deputy with Blount County, Limestone County has at all. And he can take those experiences to them and train them and teach them those things. And that's what he does. And this Gillian guy has never done anything but wore a suit and tie. Because being a lawyer is not impressive at all to me. I've met some extremely dumb lawyers. I have no idea how they made it through law school and no idea how they passed the bar. Just because somebody's a lawyer does not mean they're intelligent. Does not mean they're smart. It does not make them special. The things Jared Hudson has done makes him very special. Considering he was part of the world's most elite team that only 0.0005% of people have ever even attempted. It just blows my mind that another so-called grown man would say those coward things about somebody like that. But it's not the last that we're going to hear of Gilliland. I know his type, and I know what kinds of crap they're part of, and we'll call it out. So I want to gripe about some of these comments under Gillen's post. Here's this Dennis McDaniel. I have complete respect for those who served in the military, but when politicians or candidates bring it up, like that alone is reason enough for them to hold political office or be in law enforcement. That to me is a big bunch of self-serving, self-importance bullcrap. Well, it's a tough thing. Jesus. Oh, there's so much I want to say about that. I have complete respect for those who served in the military. But he don't want anybody bringing it up. He thinks you should be just quiet about it. Never talk about it. Of all things to talk about when you're running for an office, that's one thing you should talk about. And yes, in my opinion, that definitely not the only qualifier for running for an office, but it's a big qualifier. What's going on in the TikTok chat? Okay, Roland and Doe, if you've sent me something that you think could save a life, then you need to be calling the police, not sending me a message. And I'm not going to check my DMs during the live. It's exactly what my mods have told you. Jeez. All right, let's see what the next one is. This Dennis guy is obviously extremely jealous of military people. That's all I can figure out. Because here he says he wants to be a professional politician who throws up his military experience and off and on law. This guy needs to, I don't even understand the sentences really, but who throws up his military experience. Oh, there's my comment to him. It'll save me from having to say anything. I'll just read this. So this is my response to that. He is not your average vet. First off, he was part of the most elite team in the history of the United States. He went through the toughest training in the world. He did something that less than 0.0004% of people do. Why would he be quiet about that? It makes him very qualified to do a lot of things. Tons of people have done exactly what Barry Moore has done, which is go to law school and be a politician. That's not rare in any way whatsoever. It's not uncommon. The things Jared Hudson has done is extremely rare and very uncommon. Look at who he's friends with. Jesus Christ. Oh, I like this guy's too. This is, you might as well post "I'm ignorant" if you make a comment like this. I've worked a PD, which you're saying I've worked at the police department and sheriff's office. Never heard of a reserve officer / deputy being made an investigator. Sounds like other than being a Navy SEAL, he is full of crap on the rest of his resume. Is he even APO certified? Well, David, just because it didn't happen at your two agencies doesn't mean it does not happen. I've seen it numerous times. Numerous times. Oh, by the way, let's say he was just a Navy SEAL. Again, way more qualified, much better of a man than Barry Moore. I don't understand how people can't see that. This is ridiculous because, let me tell you what this is. This is grown men being jealous of another grown man. For a grown man to be jealous of another grown man, you're not a grown man. No way around it. You're a word that I'm not going to say on here. Plus, show your ignorance. And this is exactly like saying, well, I've never seen that happen, so it's never happened. There's a lot of things that's happened that I've never seen. Anyway, all right, I'm off my soapbox. I'm getting so tired of these completely made up BS attacks on Jared Hudson because there's nothing to actually attack him on. And I've never had necessarily a problem with Barry Moore, but seeing the tactics that his team is taking up now, because it's not the only thing, he's a piece of shit. And we have reached out to him numerous times because I was going to give him a chance to defend himself, but he's, I guess, too good to respond back. And also, it kills me. So many people say that they want to see a change, that they're tired of the same old government being ran the way it is, and then go all out for a career politician versus someone that's not a career politician. This is not rocket science. If you want to see change, you can't keep voting in career politicians. First off, that was never, ever meant to be a career. Anyone that's made a career out of a full career, I don't have a ton of respect for. I'm just being honest. And I don't care who that is. I'm not saying they're a horrible person, nothing like that. I'm just saying politically, career-wise, I don't have a lot of respect for them. Because that was never meant to be that. Run for an office, do a couple terms, hell, do 3 or 4. Then go back to private life and turn it over. We have people getting in politics in their 20s and staying in until literally they die. Literally. It was never meant to be like that. Was Barry Moore in the military? I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. He may have been, was he? And again, just being in the military, that's not uncommon. I have respect for anybody that's in the military, but it's not uncommon. The things Jared Hudson did in the military is extremely uncommon. And that's the other thing. Oh, this won me a debate the other day. I was having a verbal conversation with someone about this. And they asked me a question about Barry Moore, and I said, I don't know. I said, in fact, I couldn't tell you much about Barry Moore. I said, tell me everything you know about Jared Hudson. And it was pretty much everything about him. I said, you see the problem there? Because Jared Hudson's been running on who he is and what he can do. Barry Moore and Steve Marshall were running on how bad Jared Hudson was, not on who they are and what they can do. That's my point. Because if Barry Moore was actually doing that other, I would know more about him. I don't ever see any of his people talking about what he's done. They're all in a hate campaign against Jared Hudson. That should tell you something. OWGs. That's awesome, Nancy. You just made my night. All right, let me see what else I was going to talk about. Oh, there's some other things. I've got some new interesting stuff on Candace Owens, but we'll wait. We'll save that for another night. There's some people that still don't see. This is all I'll say about it tonight. There's some people that still don't see Candace Owens exactly like the Emily Davis girl that was constantly, I've got breaking news, I've got this, I've got that, and then I'll show it tomorrow. That's all Candace Owens has done, is said, oh, wait till I got this, I'll show it tomorrow. And then the next day, I'll show it tomorrow. And she never shows anything. She's got some of you blinded. But I've got some good stuff on her that we'll talk about another night. Isn't that ironic? I'm kind of being like she is. Purposely, by the way. The entire community in Hamilton doesn't sleep well knowing this went on here and nothing seems to be done about it. They are investigating Samuel Bentley. I hope they're investigating more. So I have learned about another child predator that was once on staff at the ramp. And it goes way, way back. I said the other day, we were up to, what, I think 5. And I said, there's going to be more that'll slowly come out. And now we have a 6th. I don't have all the information yet. And I think someone has brought his name up. I think some of you have brought his name up before, Buddy Scoggin. And I don't want to say too much because I'll end up misspeaking. Because, again, something I just learned about today and haven't looked much into. But, I mean, I know he is a child predator, obviously, or I wouldn't be saying that. But this is the part that certain things I've not verified, but I was told that he was a choir director at the ramp. Again, possibly 20 years ago. I think it was that long ago. And he was accused of SAing 2 young boys. And it went through, and the young boy's family went to the police, reported it, and it was being investigated, and it went through, shockingly, Judge Bentley's courtroom, who was Samuel Bentley's father. And being that this guy was a choir director for the ramp, it has been alleged to me, again, this is allegedly, but it has been alleged to me that Judge Bentley had some talks with the victims and or family members and caused them to drop the case. None of that is surprising to me. None of it. But considering this happened, again, at least 20 years ago, I believe. Obviously, Karen was well aware of all that. How many times, if you're a head of an organization, of any organization, how many times do you think is normal for one of your staff members to be accused of this serious crime? You know, if you have one and it's fully investigated and they're found not guilty, whatever, that's one thing. That happens. Because unfortunately, sometimes people are accused of this and they didn't really do it. I'll give you one. When you have 2, then you might start thinking, this is getting out of hand for sure. Then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. And again, keep in mind, these are just the ones we know about right now. Just a week ago, I said there was only 5 I knew of. And I said, I'm sure there are more. Now we're up to 6. Again, I'm sure there are more that will come out at some time, at some point. If you're the leader and founder of any organization, and you've had 6 different staff members. Say if you've had 6 different staff members just be accused of that. Say none of them was convicted or whatever. Just be accused of that. You've got some issues going on. That is not normal. A normal organization doesn't have that many people on their staff being accused of this horrible crime. Which we know at least 3 of these 6, at least 3, were convicted. I don't understand it. And then Karen Wheaton can put out a statement saying, this is the first I've heard of these allegations. Even though a year prior to her putting that statement out, it was literally all over the internet of allegations. Then in the past week, I've learned that one of her really good friends, according to her, one of her best friends, Joni Lamb, has also been accused in the past of covering up essaying of minors within her organization. You see a pattern here? Oh, and let's not forget Perry Stone and his organization. Same exact thing. Not only that with Perry Stone's, but Perry Stone himself has had up to at least 12 women come out and say that he harassed them and did inappropriate things with them or to them. At least 12. You will never convince me that 12 different women got together and decided to lie on one person. If you've got one, who knows? Definitely could be lying. You got 2, yeah, still possibly. I'd have to see some proof for sure. 3, starting to believe it more, but I still want to see some proof. 12, I don't have to see any proof. First time hearing that about Perry Stone. You don't know much about Perry Stone. I've got an audio recording of Perry Stone threatening to self-delete himself over those allegations. He was going to go up in the mountains and take himself out. Then we know while Perry Stone was under investigation, he donated $400,000 to the ramp. And now this next part has not been confirmed. Trying to confirm it, I haven't yet. But I've heard it from so many different sources. So this is completely alleged. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm saying it has been alleged that Perry Stone purchased a house for Karen Wheaton. And I say that to say we know there has been a lot of money and assets transferred back and forth between Karen Wheaton and Perry Stone. That's a lot of red flags with that. A lot. Also, there's little fruit flies in here. Again, this is something that I've got to fully confirm. But I was told earlier today by a pretty reliable source, Perry Stone's daughter lives in Hamilton and works for the ramp. Can anyone verify that, by the way? Any of my Hamilton people? Because that was the first I heard of that. And that was, wow. So Melissa says she does too. And so I definitely believe it for sure now. And then we also know when Perry Stone got in trouble, and this has been verified, when Perry Stone got in trouble and had to leave his organization for a while, Karen Wheaton sent none other than Samuel Bentley to go up and help run Perry Stone's ministry. You know, the prophet's son-in-law, the CFO. Oh, yeah. And let's not forget the child predator. You've got Karen Wheaton, Perry Stone, the Joni Lamb stuff, which I know she's recently passed away. And so I'm not going to sit up here and make accusations about her. I just wanted to say that one part because, I mean, that happened. And then, let's see. The ramp, Karen Wheaton, Perry Stone, and is it OSI or OIS, whatever the hell this thing's is called. OCI, I think. And then Joni Lamb she was with the Daystar. And there's starting to dig in and learn some crazy stuff there. OCI. I told someone today that, let me get my exact quote. I'm starting to think this is so much bigger than I ever thought. The patterns are unbelievable. Y'all, this is getting so big with the involvement of so many different, pretty large ministries. And every single one of them showing the exact same patterns, and they have all worked together at some point. That is not a coincidence. Again, that is what we call a pattern. It's getting so deep. If someone 6 months ago, a year ago, would have came to me and started telling me all this stuff about these ministries, I would have written them off and said, "Man, that's a crazy conspiracy theory." It's exactly what I would have done. I'm just being honest. And here we are, and uncovering more and more every day. This is so troubling because this involves a lot of money, a lot of big ministries, and a lot of big names, like I said, in the Christian world. And it's becoming more and more clear that these certain ones that we're discussing and some more will do anything for the others. Notice, I didn't say will do anything for Christ. They'll do anything for the others. Isha said, and they all seem to do something in real estate. I'll tell you why they do. It's a very easy way to launder money. Real estate is a very easy way to launder money. If you know what you're doing. Becky said, and not a word about this on the news. If so, I've not seen or heard talk about. You're exactly right. Which is, as I've said 1,000 times, we cannot trust mainstream media. Because there are certain things they will not report on. And specifically in this area. Ryan Montgomery, who was the ethical hacker that does some work for the government, he's been on Sean Ryan's podcast, he's been on Chris Hansen's podcast. He's been a very big advocate against Roblox, the kids' gaming site that we've discussed numerous times. When he first figured out that Roblox was a honey hole of child predators, and he had all the proof, and it was crazy. He got it all together because he's extremely intelligent. He got it all together and pretty much put a bow on it and took it to every major news media company. Every single one, he would get in touch with one of their biggest investigative reporters and say, this is what I got. And every time, and that the reporter would say, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is going to, this is going to turn some heads. And then a couple days later, every single time, the reporters would ghost him. They'd either ghost him completely or tell him, we can't cover the story. We're talking about ABC, NBC, all of them. Not one of them would go public with that story. That alone should show you why you should never, ever listen to mainstream media again. Because that is very troubling. Luckily, we have Sean Ryan. And when he got wind of it, he got Ryan Montgomery on his show. And Sean Ryan's got 20 million followers, if not more. And they put it out, and then things started happening. Until then, nothing was happening. And if it had not been for podcasts, people like Sean Ryan, who was never a journalist, never an investigative journalist, but decided to start a podcast and interviewing real people and not editing, we still would have no idea about Roblox and a lot of other things. But those same mainstream media investigative journalists will talk about people like us, like myself and other creators and podcasters, like we're idiots, like we don't know what we're talking about. There should be laws against us doing what we do. Literally, I've heard that. Why do they hate us so bad? Because we just put out the truth, because we're not getting paid. Mainstream media is only allowed to cover stories that their advertisers will let them. And even then, very censored stuff. And that's why those people can't stand us. We don't have to censor anything. You're exactly right, Melissa. That's why all of these ministers are coming after the podcast. You hear, we've heard Perry Stone and Karen Wheaton say it from their own mouths, that we are the devil. We are the demons. We were sent here from the devil. We were sent here by the devil to take Christianity out. Because they can't stand, we will call them out. Because again, like was just said, mainstream media is not going to call them out and never has. That's why they were able to get away with it for so long. For whatever reason, mainstream media refuses to cover anything about child predators. One theory of mine on that is probably because some of their big CEOs do it themselves. Not saying all of them by any means, but I guarantee you some of them do. Some of them are just like the fake Dr. D's that was running for Senate. They don't think it should be illegal. They don't think it should be a crime. Addison said, I've spent more time listening to Sean Ryan than I do sleeping in a year. That's why you're so smart, Addison. That's why you're my favorite audience member. But yeah, if you want to actually learn real things, listen to Sean Ryan. Listen to Joe Rogan. All these. There's a bunch. Listen to them. Because they have so many followers, they can say whatever they want to. They can put out whatever they want to. And nobody can stop them. They're not dependent on mainstream, on these big companies' money. what's my take on Tucker Carlson's take on Zionism? I don't have a comment on that because I'm not familiar with his take on it. I've listened to Tucker Carlson for a long time. I have not had a chance to listen. I haven't had time in the last 6 months to listen to him much at all, hardly at all. So anything he's done in the last 6 months, I can't really speak on. I have a lot of respect for him. Not that I definitely don't agree on every single thing he agrees with. Don't get me wrong. But he is one, and this does not mean everything he says is the ultimate truth or whatever. I trust him, but he is another one that was kicked out of mainstream media because he got tired of kneeling to those. And he went out on his own, and now he can be real. And so, again, it doesn't mean he's always right. I'm not always right. But he can always, you don't have to wonder and question who he is. Just like me, you don't have to question and wonder who I am. This is who I am. I don't have to have on a mask. You have no way of a mainstream media journalist, you have no way of knowing who they really are because they have to put on a mask. That's the way or they won't keep their job. Now, Ray Curry Jr., that's that pastor, right? The unction. That guy's awesome. And I'd never heard of him till 3 or 4 weeks ago. I love watching that guy. Oh, the Dr. D's guy? Yeah, he's back to being a nobody like he was. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew who he really was because you don't need to have your children around him. And he lives in my state. I mean, hell, he lives 50 miles from where I do. So I just want everyone to know who he really is and how he thinks. And anybody that thinks that shouldn't be illegal, that thinks it shouldn't be a crime, you don't want doesn't necessarily mean that they do it themselves, but I definitely wouldn't trust my children around him. And I don't think you would either. Yes, Katie. He lives somewhere over there around. He lives in the Birmingham area somewhere. I don't know, obviously, exactly where or anything. But thank you, Jennifer. You're awesome. I seriously do appreciate that. If you are enjoying the live and getting any value out of it, be like Jennifer and send some gifts. I do appreciate those. The biggest thing I see differently with you than most is if you are wrong, you say I was wrong. Yeah, no, I mean, I'll if I'm made aware that I was wrong, then yeah, no, absolutely, I'll admit that. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm always right. I know I'm not, and I know I'm going to make mistakes. Now, Sean Ryan is just like that too, though. He will, if he makes a mistake, he will come back with it and admit it. And that's one reason I think he has so much respect from so many people, and so many people trust him, because he has numerous times, anytime that he's said anything that wasn't right or implied something that was wrong, whatever, he will come out and admit it. And I'd be lying if I said, if this was 15 years ago, I wouldn't be like that. I wasn't as intelligent, as I wasn't as wise then as I am now. But thankfully, that's something that I've learned through my years and understand and fully understand. Number one, I listen to everybody because I know that I can learn something from everybody. Number two, I know that I better be learning something new every single day, because I know that I don't know it all. I don't even know half of all of it. And I know that. And most importantly, I understand that I don't know what I don't know. And when you can get to that place in your brain, it will really bring you down to earth to fully start understanding things better, and to keep an open mind, and to know, you know what? Sometimes I'm going to be wrong. And I don't know everything, far from it. And no matter who you are, no matter how old you are, what your education is, where you came from, none of that, I guarantee you I can learn something from you. But that's why I love debating. And not because I like arguing, because I don't really like arguing. It's not that side. I know I'm going to learn something. That's why I don't want a bunch of people following me that think just like me. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't learn anything. I want people on that disagree with me, that have different outlooks of and different opinions on things. And I like to encourage you to express those so we can talk about it. Because again, I mean, countless times where I've thought I knew something and thought I was right on something, and then I literally just shut my mouth and open my ears and listen to the other person and realize, wow, I was completely wrong, and they were right. Thank you, Ashley. I wish my kids knew that. We all wish our kids knew that. knew that. I try. My son has heard that spiel so many times, and he knows everything. He's 11 years old and knows more than anybody I've ever met in my life, in his mind, anyway. But I was the same way when I was a kid, teenager. No, they know everything, and it'll drive you insane. Because I've had times where I'm like, it really starts bothering me and makes me worry about him. Like, geez, if he's like this, he's never going to. And I mean, he's smart as far as school, makes straight A's, but it's just like he refuses to listen to anything that I say. And there's been times I've started worrying about it, and then I'll talk to some of my friends that have kids around that same age, and they're like, oh, and then I realize they're all like that. It's just a phase, apparently. So it gives me more hope. But just like I was saying, like Nancy just said, my 7-year-old grandson teaches me new things, and that does go back to what I was saying a while ago. I have learned some things from him, and I will continue to learn some things from him. Even though he's that young, doesn't have, as I've explained to him, not much life experience at all. And he's had a good life. And that's another thing I've tried to explain to him. The better your life is, the less you understand life, if that makes sense. Now, I'm glad he has a good life, and I hope he always does. But a lot of kids these days do need more obstacles than they have. It's not good for a lot of them to not have any obstacles. You'll never convince me that it is. They need to have tough times, and they need to have things that they have to go through at times. But yeah, you should listen to your kids. Absolutely. Don't just talk at them. Actually have conversations with them. Number one, the way their brains work is wow. Like the way my son's brain works, I'll never understand it. But they will absolutely teach you something too. Any news on the girl that was checked out of school at Central High School in Florence? And I've not heard about that at all. When did this happen? Team, are we familiar with that? I mean, I don't think I am, but has anybody brought that up? Oh, last year. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Maybe it was something I knew about before. I just forgot, but I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Ashley, am I following? I think I'm following you, right? I think so. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I'll check into that. And another thing that I said we are going to look into, and I was going to start calling them out, and then I got busy, but we're still going to do that. Thank you, Ashley. Is all these churches around the country now that are paying Karen Wheaton to come and speak at their churches right now. Every single one of them deserve to be called out, and they all have some questions to answer. Because as a couple of people have pointed out to me, she was rarely traveling and speaking before. But ever since, it's the money problem is what it is. Ever since Samuel Bentley stuff came out officially, they've been liquidating tons of things, tons of properties. And again, like I said, they've been laying off a bunch of staff, and she's been traveling constantly doing these speeches because she's getting paid for them. It's very concerning to me that there are that many other ministries that are paying her to come speak at their church right now. It's unbelievable. They have to know. If they don't know, that's just as bad, in my opinion, because if you will just invite, I mean, if you're going to pay someone to come and preach at your ministry and you don't check them out at all, that's a big problem in itself. But I would think any organization, not even religious ones, any organization that's going to pay a speaker to come and speak at their organization, you would think they would look into them a little bit. I mean, I've had to sign actual background check forms to let them, because they do a full background check. And that was just for me, just because they were going to pay me to come speak at their organization. I didn't have a problem with that, obviously. But if some of them do that, you would hope that a ministry would do a quick Google. And it doesn't take much it shouldn't take long for you to find out, okay, her son-in-law, who was also second in command of her organization, who was also one of the main pastors at her organization, has recently admitted to essaying at least 2 minors. So we know that in itself should go, maybe she didn't do anything wrong, but not the best of timing for us to bring her into our ministry and preach. And that's just if they didn't go any deeper. If they went any deeper at all, which wouldn't take much, they would go, okay, there's a pretty good pattern here. Maybe this is not someone we want speaking at our ministry, much less paying them to come speak at our ministry. Not Dr. Phil, that brings up a good point. I don't know if that's what you meant by that, but I say Google because that's pretty much become the word for that. But if you're really wanting to find information on whatever it is, you can Google it. That's fine. Google it. Then also use another search engine and my main go-to is DuckDuckGo. There's others that I'm sure are just as good. I've just been using DuckDuckGo for years now. So search more than one search engine. You'll be surprised that you can Google something and then DuckDuckGo, and you will be absolutely floored on certain things of, wow, why couldn't I find this on Google? You could go through 10 pages, the first 10 pages of Google, and not find that information. And it may be the most important information that's out there, because you can't fully trust Google. Number one, Google is paid to show what they show in their results. I mean, I could go and pay Google money right now that if somebody went and typed podcast, that if I paid them enough money, mine would be the first thing to show up there. Now, it would take a lot of money, I'm sure, but you get my point. So that's the way Google works. So use another search engine. And again, my go-to is DuckDuckGo, but I don't get paid by them or anything. I need to. So I'm sure there are other that are just as good. But use one of the others. I mean, I rarely use Google. If I'm actually researching anything, I use DuckDuckGo. I don't even Google it. Sometimes I'll do both. But that's a good point. They just believe she didn't know what Samuel was doing for years. Here's the thing, and we've talked about this a lot, so I'm preaching to the choir. She said in her statement that she put out in, March the 17th, that, let me find that statement. I was trying to quote it earlier today, and I couldn't remember exactly what it said, but I don't want to get it wrong. But she said something about that it was let me just find it. Here it is. Yeah, so March the 17th, statement from Karen Wheaton and Ramp Leadership. I got to make that a little bigger. There we go. Last week, a brave individual came forward reporting that 4 years ago, they experienced inappropriate contact by a staff member of the Ramp. The staff member involved was Samuel Bentley, and the individual was a minor at the time of the incident. Upon receiving this report, leadership immediately addressed the matter with Samuel. During that conversation, he admitted the allegation was true. Samuel was immediately terminated from his position. The Ramp's board of directors was notified, and the matter was promptly reported to the appropriate authorities. A few days later, Samuel disclosed a second instance involving another minor, which was also reported to the appropriate authorities. We are readily cooperating with law enforcement We are readily cooperating with law enforcement as their investigation proceeds. Based on the information currently known to us, these incidents did not occur on church property or in connection with Ramp University. As Samuel is someone we platformed to speak and lead, our community is devastated by these revelations. Our deepest concerns is for the victims and their families. As a ministry, we are committed to supporting their ongoing healing in any way possible. And we are working with them to pursue this. To the victims, we want to say clearly, we believe you, we grieve with you, and we stand with you. Out of respect for those affected and the seriousness of this situation, we have made the decision to cancel this week's scheduled events, including College Days and Spring Ramp. In their place, we are holding spaces for mourning, prayer, and reflection. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. We are committed to hold our team members to the high standards and are unwavering in our commitment to protect minors and ensure a safe environment for those entrusted to our care. The safety and well-being of those in our community, especially minors, remains our chief priority. We do not tolerate abuse of any kind and are committed to transparency, accountability, and care for those affected. At this time, the victims have requested to remain anonymous. We kindly ask our community to respect their privacy and honor their request not to be publicly identified. Okay, so she didn't say... She's implying that this is the first she's heard about it, and that the first time this was reported, they spoke with Samuel and notified authorities. But we know all of her rampers, isn't that what y'all call them? All the members are dead set on this was the first she heard about it, and as soon as she heard about it, she reported it and all this. And I've brought that up so many times because we know that's not true. But she is implying here, this is the first we've heard about it. And as soon as we did, we reported this. It's been a while since I've read this statement. And now, knowing everything else I know, there is so much BS in this statement, it just angers me to no end. Our deepest concern is for the victims and their families. Except, other than this statement that she put out, she has not said anything about the victims. She has not spoke up for the victims at all. In fact, all she has done is whined about how the devil is coming after her and the ramp, and they're just fighting the storm. Not one time. And I've suffered through every freaking video she's put out since then just to see not one time has she said anything about nothing. And for her cult members to say, well, she can't say anything about the victims. First off, I understand she can't say their names, nor do I. I've never said their names. I know most of their names. I've never said them and never will. Other than that, there is absolutely no reason that if she was a true Christian woman and leader of this ministry, that she knows this happened in her organization now by her number one trusted advisor, this would be all she would be talking about. She would be saying how sorry she was. And every video she put out, she would say, Pray for those child victims. Why couldn't she say that? Why couldn't she at least on one of her videos say, "Hey, pray for the child victims"? Trust me, there would be absolutely legally nothing wrong with her saying that. Nothing. But she has never said that. If I was the leader of an organization and this happened, number one, I would immediately step down from my position because I would know I failed. That's what a real leader does. They recognize when they completely failed, and they step down and figure out what they did wrong, how they did it wrong, and so they can make sure it never happens again under their leadership. And then at some time on down the road, you might go back and take back over. If ever. One thing I would definitely not stop doing is talking about the victims. And I wouldn't even give a shit about some lawsuit. If my attorney said, don't mention this at all, I'd say, too bad. Because it's not worth it. If you truly cared, if she truly cared about those children, she would say something. But she has every excuse in the world as to why she has not mentioned this at all. When at the end of the day, there is no excuse. And then in this BS statement, our deepest concern is for the victims and their families, except that's the last time you've ever spoken about them. Well, you've proved that's not your deepest concern. And this BS line here, to the victims, we want to say clearly, we believe you, we grieve with you, and we stand with you. Tell us, Karen, since this statement, when have you stood with the victims? I can tell you when. Not one time. Not at all. You haven't. And this, we believe you? No, you didn't believe them. When the one guy spoke out before this, when the one girl spoke out and made it and went public, you didn't believe them. You called them the devil and said they were demons and said they had fallen away from Christ and was trying to take you down. That's exactly what you said. And now you want to act like you believe them? No, you don't. I mean, you believe them. You know it happened. You just don't care. And you don't grieve with them. You're grieving for yourself and your reputation and your money. And I'm telling y'all, one day, because it will eventually, when some of these victims, when everybody finds out who some of these victims were, it's really going to make your blood boil. Really. This woman is evil. There's no way around it. Well, y'all have done awesome on the likes on TikTok tonight. We're at over 100K. Hey, thank you, Sarah Sue. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being on, not Dr. Phil. And again, don't forget, make sure to not miss this coming Wednesday night's live. And so make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. So this Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, my live it'll only be on YouTube. So make sure you don't miss that. So again, make sure you go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Agent D Baker, or you can also go to agentdbaker.com, my website, and just click the YouTube link there, and it'll take you there, and then hit subscribe. My guess is she probably can't tell you their names, nor does she care. Oh, I'll guarantee you there's some names she can tell. That is a fact. Since they are selling everything, would that indicate they are moving? I mean, that is one theory that a lot of people think. A lot of people believe they're just going to try to move everything to the UK. So we may be having to travel to the UK at some point and call them out over there. Because no matter where it is, we need to make sure she is shut down, and this whole thing is shut down, because they're going to harm children wherever they are. They are still allowing students to register for fall semester. Here's the concerning thing to me about that. What kind of people are letting their children register for that school now? Number one, the chance of you just completely losing that money, very high. Because again, I mean, it would not surprise me if they completely shut everything down there and move everything to the UK. It would not surprise me at all. So, number one, you're just taking a chance on that. Number two, why would you financially support this just horrible organization? Why? And number three, why would you put your children in that horrible situation to where they're this forced labor is crazy. On top of the living conditions they make your children live in. This is a horrible place. Horrible. You're exactly right, Christy. The kind that support predators. That's all I can think of, too. I mean, It doesn't make sense at all that you would pay this money to go to a completely unaccredited place anyway. Educational wise, this place is worthless. You get nothing for it. Nothing. It's worthless. Are they still having the youth events that we were talking about peacefully protesting? Well, they have. That's a good question. I think they've canceled some, but those may still be. I need to check into that. So Melissa says they are. Okay, team, please don't let me forget this. Like this week, we got to check in and look into if we need any type of permits or anything like that. But again, the fact that she can talk that many people into just throwing their money at her, it's unbelievable. Thousands will be coming. Summer ramps are still on. End of June and July, 3 ramps. Thousands will be coming here. That is crazy. That means we're not doing a great job at spreading awareness about this. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Because again, as we have said, mainstream media is not going to talk about this. It's up to us. We need a lot more people doing exactly what I'm doing, making the podcast and videos about it. A lot more. And go back. This one thing I'll ask of you all tonight. Go back as soon as this live's over and reshare and share all of the videos and podcasts I've done on the ramp. Go to Rodrigo Burgos's page. Share all of his videos he's been doing about it. I'm leaving some people out because there's others that's been talking about it too. So I apologize for some of the Stephen Womack. Thank you, Christy. Stephen Womack. Go to his page. Share all of his stuff. That's one thing I need to do. I'll try to get together a little short list of the ones that's calling it out and get everybody to start sharing all those out. That's one thing we need to do. We've got to bring more awareness to this. We have to. Joey Tribe. I think I've seen some of his stuff, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll get a list together. I'll get a list together and I'll post it on my Facebook page where it will be in writing. So everybody can go there and check off all of them and make sure to start sharing all their stuff. Jennifer Maldonado, that's another one. Thank you. Yeah, Jennifer Maldonado on TikTok. Here, Melissa's got a decent list here. Shannon Roberts Walker. Is she the one that's got the... So, hold on. I came across some YouTube somebody on YouTube, and Lindsay Sizemore on TikTok. She's done some stuff. She was a prior student there, but I came across her stuff, or somebody sent me her stuff, and she was a student there, and she puts out some really good information as far as exactly how it was. And I think there's another one on YouTube that I found, but yeah, I'll get it. That's a good thing. That's something I need to do. I'll get a full list together and put it on my Facebook page. You can contact local media. Local media is all aware of this stuff. They're not going to report much on it at all. That's the problem that we're having. And so one more time, make sure that you go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Agent D Baker. You can either just go to YouTube, find me, or go to my website, agentdbaker.com, and click on the YouTube link there. It'll take you there. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can catch my live this Wednesday night. So my live this Wednesday night will only be on YouTube. So make sure you don't miss that. Friday night will be back on all of them. But from now on, every Wednesday night live will only be on YouTube. So again, make sure you don't miss that. And I'll post a short video about that tomorrow and some posts. And when I do, if you try to share those out as well so everybody is aware, because I know some people are going to say they didn't know and miss it. Say we do a peaceful protest, can they have us arrested? Well, no, I mean that's why I'm going to check in to see exactly what we need to do, because we're going however we do it, we're going to do it right and lawfully. That way we're not arrested. Yeah, okay. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss Wednesday night live. Also, that's one of the places where you can catch my full podcast. You can catch my full podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Make sure you go check out the new website, agentdbaker.com. So very simple, agentdbaker.com. And you can find all my social media links on there, my podcast links, and then also that's where you need to go from now on to send me any information. So if you need to send me any information, contact me about anything, go to the website, agentdbaker.com, and hit the contact link, and you'll put in your, here, let me bring it up so I can show you. I mean, it's very simple, but we'll just bring it up. So here's the first page of the website. you'll go in here, and if you can either scroll down through here and find the stuff. Like right there's all the links to my social media. And well, where is it? So you can either go all the way to the bottom and find this. You just type your name in the name box, obviously, your email address, subject. Why is it not coming down? It's showing on my side. I don't know. For some reason, it's not showing the subjects, the topics. But anyway, you hit the down arrow, and it'll come up course inquiry, speaking engagement, media request, submit a tip, or other. So just type one of those, doesn't really matter. Then type in your message, hit send. Simple as that. Or you can just, from this top page, hit the contact button right here. It'll take you down there, fill out all the information, and I'll get all that information. But yeah, make sure you go check out the new website. But from now on, that's the way you need to send me any information, questions, whatever the case may be. But other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your night. I really appreciate everyone, each and every one of you being on here. I really do. And those of you that gave gifts on TikTok, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And yeah, if you have any information, send it to me. If you or somebody you know is interested in being a guest on the podcast, send it to me. If there's a case that you would like for me to look into, send that, all the above. And then as far as like I said, the courses on the website, we're still working on those, but they will be up and going pretty soon. I just don't know exactly when, but we're moving along. Things are finally starting to happen, thankfully. And also the merch side, we still got to get it up and running too, but that will be on very, very soon as well on the website. So it's coming up, and things are moving forward. Don't forget, go whatever you're following me on or subscribed on, go and find all the videos that I've done on the ramp, repost those, share those out, and then again, all those other people. And then again, I will also put a list out for everybody else that's doing that, so you can go to their pages and do the same thing. We need to bring more awareness to this. Other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your night. I will see y'all Wednesday night on YouTube. Agent D. Baker. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations that are not suitable for children and may be triggering for some individuals. If you choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.